The recording button. Oh shit, there goes Azerbaijan. God damn it, wrong button. Fuck.
I mean, what was Azerbaijan doing for anybody?
You got me there. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Broken Teeth Radio. My name is the Extreme Enigma, as usual, and today we're getting a little heated. We're getting a little spicy. It's pipe bombs dropping all over the place, and not just on account of CM Punk making a return just 2 months ago. Imagine missing that in the news. And today we got a little something special for you, and I'm not just using those hype words for the hell of it. We have an exclusive interview, guest appearance, however you want to frame it, with the one, the only. This is the part where I put in your music and YouTube, etc. Blah, editing is a hellscape. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Maeve O'Hare.
Wait for the booze to die down.
You suck!
That's not the first time I've heard that this week. Fine.
So I heard you got some fun things to talk about today. I saw the email come in my box.
I have feelings about things.
Feelings in the wrestling world. You know, it's not a lot of people like to talk about those. There's a lot of like vague bullshit, but from what I understand, you're going to be pretty direct here tonight.
I'm going to do my best.
Well, I will give you the floor then and interject when possible. Ladies and gentlemen, Maeve O'Hare, possibly with the pipe bombs. Let's hear it.
Thank you for having me, Enigma. I apologize in advance that you have to hear the non-ridiculous accent version of my voice, but it is what it is. You get what you get. And I'm not being paid for this. As people who are in NMW or just pay attention to what's going on the feed when Larry's not making an ass of himself.
Fuck that guy!
I have stepped down as a GM for No Mercy Wrestling, where I have been GMing for the last 3+ years, something like that. I'd have to go back and look at exactly when I started. But it was my first GM position. It's one I've held for a very long time. But today was the day. I've been mulling it over and thinking about it and being kind of wishy-washy about it for a while, but today was the day and I officially washed my hands of that. There's my big announcement. That's not the interesting part, of course, but that is the nuts and bolts of it.
Almost 3 years to the mark, actually. I just checked. April 13th, 2021 is when Black Irish started.
Well, that sounds about right. So yeah. So 2 3/4 years. It's kind of a mixed emotions thing. Like, I've spent a lot of time working on Black Irish Saturdays, and I built up the brand, and I hired a lot of people into the company myself, recruited some people specifically to come in, did a lot, I would argue, for the company as a whole and for my brand in particular. And I'm pleased with what I was able to accomplish. I'm proud of what I built. But the time was right, and I just could not be a general manager there anymore.
So underlying issues is what I'm hearing from this stuff. Is kind of built up over time.
It's the same problem over and over again, and the classic expression is, trying the same thing over and over again and expecting different results is a sign of madness. I kept hoping that things would get better. I kept agreeing to overlook things, to bide my time, to just let it go. It finally reached a boiling point where I said, I've been spending multiple years of my life biting my tongue and not being allowed or being comfortable to say what I really think about situations, and being told that I just need to deal with it, that I need to be understanding, that I need to make allowances. And I like to think that I'm a reasonable person. I am well known amongst people who know the manager behind Maeve, as someone who will bend over backwards. I hate conflict. I absolutely loathe feeling like I have inconvenienced anybody or made someone upset. I will go out of my way to inconvenience myself. But I could not do it anymore. And at the risk of sounding very petty, it came down to a personality / management style clash. everyone GMs differently. Everyone has their own opinions about what makes someone a good GM versus what makes someone a less effective GM, we'll say. I have never personally, that I know of, had anyone tell me that they had a problem with the way I GM. I like to think that I've learned from the best. I've watched how other people GM for a really long time. I was in game for almost 2 years before I even thought about GMing, and NMW did give me that opportunity to do it for the first time, and I did appreciate that a lot. They took a chance on someone who'd literally never done it before. But me personally, my preference and my belief in what a GM should and should not do, I'm one of those people. I don't book myself on my shows. If you look at Black Irish Saturdays, if you look at the ladies division of BBA, where Vegan has been kind enough to let me play around and be the GM for the women's division, I don't book myself. I do not put myself in matches. I do not feel that it is appropriate for a general manager to put themselves into matches, and especially not to put themselves into situations where they might benefit. So I don't believe in booking my own title matches, even if I'm in the division. Even if I had the belt before I became a GM, I will not book my own title matches. I will not book my own matches. I will not put myself forward and say, hey, you know who deserves a title shot in this division that I run? It's just not a thing I do. I don't feel like it's appropriate. Other people can do it, and that's on them. I will keep my opinions to myself. I'm not going to say, like, I'm not going to go out on the feed and put people on blast. That's not how I do things. But I don't feel that it is appropriate for someone in a position of power to put themselves forward that way. And I watched that happen repeatedly with one particular general manager in NMW. And it seemed like at one point, like, other people outside of the company, outside of the staff, were asking me, why does this person constantly get title shots? And I'm like, because they constantly give them to themselves, which is honestly embarrassing because nothing ever came of it. So, like, imagine booking yourself in title match after title match and never winning. Couldn't be me. I spoke to the owner of the company several times, and every time I said something, I was just like, hey, what's up with this? And I would be told, yeah, I know. Yeah, it's not something I would ever do. But just don't make a big deal out of it. Just, I'll take care of it. And lo and behold, it was never taken care of. Every time I was like, what's going on? What the hell is this? Oh, just don't stress yourself out. It's a game. Don't get worked up. And there's nothing more frustrating, especially as someone who identifies as and is identified by others as a woman, being told to calm down because you're getting too emotional. It's dismissive, it's insulting, it's rude, and it doesn't actually deal with the core issue, which is that someone in a position of power is exploiting that power and being allowed to do so. And it happened again. And I said something last week. I was like, hey, if this happens, I will not have anything to do with this tournament. And I was told, yeah, I know, I agree. And then tournament started being discussed, and sure enough, that manager got to put themselves into the tournament. And I'm just like, oh, look at that. And initially, my reaction last week had been, I won't have anything to do with the tournament. But the more I thought about it and the angrier I got, I said, you know what? I can't in good conscience stay a member of a staff that continues to let this happen. I tendered my resignation, and we will see what happens.
Very well said indeed. I gotta say, you handle things very professionally, where a lot of people could very easily say, just plain place and fuck this place, fuck this guy, and give no context to it. I gotta say, there is reason to applaud you for actually giving the reasoning here instead of just a lot of people use the term taking your ball and going home. I like that you're actually giving reasons here.
And I don't bear any ill will to the company as a whole. Again, they got me started on GMing. I've been very successful as a wrestler in NMW as well as a general manager. I'm on day like 1437 or something. I'd have to do the math of being the women's champion there. No one's going to touch that record.
Give me
No,
1 month.
no one is even close in terms of any championship being held that long. The next closest, I believe, is Griffith as the world champion, and he's still off by like 2 years. I won that belt back in 2020 during the dark days when we were all sitting at home staring at the screen all the time.
The plague!
As if that's not what I do with my day all day, any day. But yeah, I am not at this time looking at leaving the company completely. Partially because I do still have belts there, and you really have to make me mad for me to leave a company still holding a belt. Either the company needs to like be defunct, or like there's actually no one running it and it's just like lottery titles at that point, or you really have to piss me off. I can only think of one company off the top of my head that was active that I left while still holding a belt. And I had my reasons for doing that. And I stand behind them. But you really have to make me mad.
You also made a very interesting point there. I probably won't say this verbatim, but you said something about GMs booking themselves, or especially booking themselves in titles, and it leading to nothing. I think that is a thing that really does need addressed on a larger scale. It's nothing you see quite as often as the old days when the player base was 10 times the amount it is now and the transgressions were 10 times the amount they are now. But I have seen a lot of situations like that where a GM will just be like, "Oh, I need a name to fill out the card. Oh, look at me. I'm here." I'm guilty of booking myself not only in normal matches but in title matches as a company owner and as a GM. But whenever I do that, I myself do try to do something with it. It's not just a case of like, yeah, I'm here. I'd at least try to make a reason, or hey, this is an open challenge title. I'm answering since nobody else is. But before that, as a GM, there's steps you have to take. Like I myself, I'm a bit dickish almost as well with it, where I'm like, hey, somebody wake up, drop a promo, do something before.
And like I understand those situations where you've got a belt that needs to be defended and no one seems interested in it, and you've tried everything else. Yeah, just to have something to do and you have to pop yourself in there. I get that. But, again, that's a case-by-case basis. That is not something... I've seen you do that, but I have not seen you do that to a ridiculous amount. And so I feel like that is a slightly different situation.
Oh yeah, there's a big difference between subconsciously, like, deep into a match card, you've already set the links and everything, then you're like, shit, gotta fill this out. And as you were talking about earlier, actively doing it to do it.
And it is not the only complaint that I have about that particular general manager style. I'm going to give you a situation that came up more than once, and I would like to get your take on it as someone who's played this game a lot longer than I have and who has GM'd in a lot of other companies.
Dear fucking God, so many companies. Alright, land on me.
I was going to say, you're GMing in like 7 right now? 10, 32, like...
Oh, Jesus Christ, let me check my profile. Fate Wrestling Federation, 5-star, Unparalleled, Determination, Ultimate Fighter, Revolt, and my own company makes 7.
Okay, so 7. That's a lot of GMing.
My bones hurt.
So, what would you do if someone that you worked with came to you, and their complaint was, people outside the company are fan supporting in this match, and that's not fair?
My first thought is, a kayfabe aside, it's a game mechanic. And my second thought immediately comes as well, like, unless specifically stated, I don't think outside company fan support should really be a big deal. Like, if it's like the world championship and this person's like begging for fan support on the feed, that's one thing. But if it's just like the one there, or God forbid, 2 from out of company people, I don't see a large bit of drama there.
Like, if we're going to look at it from a kayfabe standpoint, doesn't it make more sense that someone outside of the company would be there in a fan role?
100%, yeah. I mean, I can't count the amount of times where my fan supports will go to a random name comes to mind, Ken Costa, and like Power Impact because he needs an FS, and I'm like, oh hey, my boy's doing something over there.
Who will like be like, oh shit, I got all these fan supports in my bag and I really need to get a PD. I'm just going to go through my training partners list and see who needs a fan support.
Exactly.
Or I'm just going to go to the feed and like click on the first link I see for a fan support and not even know who asked for it.
Or God forbid, not even fan support asks. I'll literally pick someone on the feed, go into their matches, and find something that they're active on a turn for.
Sometimes people just drop fan supports because they need the room in their bag for something else.
Yeah, like it honestly. Yeah,
As there's no delete or drop feature where you can drop it without using it, that's your only option.
it's a 50-50 shot of fuck it, or like you said, fan of the person within that company.
So yeah, that was something that and it came up more than once, and I was just like, that's the weirdest fucking complaint I've ever heard. Like, why do you care? Like, what a strange thing to be upset about.
There's room for it to be abused, but there's such a little margin of room for that to be abused that it's a non-issue.
Like, literally, the only thing a fan support does is if your first move is successful, you get a little bit extra momentum.
Exactly.
Like that. It doesn't make your move more likely to succeed. It's not like a love boost. Like if it was love boost, I could almost see the complaint.
Oh, I've gotten pissed about love boost in the past as a GM. But the bottom line of the whole subject, like love boost would be the only type of fan support-esque thing to really cause believable drama at that stage.
But also, I feel like you can't penalize the person who gets the fan support or love boost because you can't prove that they asked for it. And that was my point, is I'm like, how are you going to try to penalize somebody who got a fan support when, for all you know, someone was just clicking through their training partners or just picked a name at random and dropped a fan support for no reason?
Like if you're going to be that pressed about that fan support, contact the person who dropped it and be like, hey, bro, the fuck?
You know, I feel like as a GM, I would be excited to see that people outside my company cared what happened in a match I had going on.
Especially in today's era where it's hard to get people upwards of 50 in a company.
Exactly. So yeah, that was just one of the little things. Also, just not willing to work with people and like being pressed about people being better at the game than you. Like yes, this is a game. This is a hobby. This is a thing we do for free. It's a silly little time waster. If you were so pressed about what goes on in a silly little free to play wrestling game, maybe this isn't the hobby for you.
Oh yeah, if you personally get legitimately upset or stressed about a game, and before I get into the rest of that sentence, there's a difference between frustration and general upsetness. If you're getting that upset about it, like you said, it's not the game for you. Take a step back.
Like I've gotten frustrated. I've been sad about losing a match that was important to me or whatever.
Oh yeah.
But you know, as far as like deriving actual meaning in my real life about what goes on in a game, no. I am a grown-ass woman. I have other shit going on in my life. I'm certainly not going to get upset because someone made a mean promo and said my name in it, and now I need to go tell my mom.
Bingo.
For the most part, I'm pretty sure we're all adults at this point.
Fuck, I hope it's some of the shit I see on that feed. Why are y'all fucking in matches?
Oh my god, I was gonna say, some of the shit I see in matches.
Quit bear hugging each other.
I remember one match in particular where they just kept Canadian destroyering each other.
That's a whole lot of 69ing.
I'm just like, I did not need to see that, thank you.
But yeah.
Yeah, so I posted the official announcement in the Black Irish Saturday show. I'm not sure what the plan is going forward for that. I recommended that I think that maybe they could cut it back to 2 shows, and not necessarily try to find a new GM right away. Because I feel like 2 shows would still be pretty doable with the size roster that they have.
100%, yeah. Like that's what I do over in Impact. I split it down the middle, and we have a roughly similar roster size. Christ, I have more than they do, I think.
You might. I wouldn't be surprised. While I'm complaining about not it GM moves,
spill that tea.
Pet peeve of mine. Don't complain that people don't post their wins if you don't give them a link. Like, if you have a show and you want me to post a win, you had better post a link in my match.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm not going hunting through 27 different links on your company page to figure out where you want this.
Especially with the people who don't even format their pictures the same size.
Yeah, like just like it doesn't have to be anything simple, or it doesn't have to be anything complicated. Um, I found that the easiest thing for me to do is just have a like literal like notepad document open on my computer with my links and like coded up and stuff, so I can just copy and paste and drop them into every match I make. It takes like 2 seconds.
Oh yeah,
Um,
that's what I'll do. I'll open the first match on my match card. I'll do like the bolded up, put the code in, and then I just cut paste open tab, cut paste open tab.
yep, exactly. That's what I do. It's been very simple. And then, I would see other GMs complaining that people won't post their wins, and I'm like, well, are you giving them links? Well, no, that's too much work. I don't have it. Already takes forever for me to make my show, and I'm like, that's like literally the easiest part.
Yeah, or to goes with that, kind of different but kind of similar. People who also don't send out like their company or division message that hey the show's happening, and then they get mad that there's no interaction and no posting.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, never had a problem getting people to post wins. Like, does everyone post their win? No. Is that fine? Okay. I'm the sort of GM that, like, if I see you posting your wins and talking, I'm more likely to think about you first when I'm trying to figure out who needs a title shot. But some people don't want to post wins, and that's fine. But don't complain that people don't post wins when you don't give them a link.
Exactly, you got to put that effort in as the GM to have your roster want to give a shit.
My favorite is when people, and this happens in multiple companies. I'm not calling out any specific company right now because I've seen this happen a lot. Where the show title will have post win and scene, and I'm like, what scene? Where's the scene?
Yup.
Because again, if I have to go to your page and scroll through like 18 different links to try to figure out what the show is supposed to be that I'm on, because I don't even know where you posted the link for the match card. Like, I don't want to go through like 12 different pages trying to figure out what show this is supposed to be. I will say shout out to people like Natalia Nitro does a fantastic job with this. She's very good at making sure that you get links posted.
She's got to go through so much coffee in the day for her GM work.
She has so much going on. Like she does like 16 divisions or something.
In just one company. Well, two.
Right, yeah. Mrs. Broom and Zeno, when she was running ASS, top tier GMing. Like, that is what I aspire to. She was so organized. Everything looked good. You could find things on the page. You always had the link you needed. He would run events and keep track of everything, and I don't know how she did it.
I will say as well, right now in DNA and WUF, she is running a couple shows, and she is thorough. Point spreadsheets.
He does such a good job. Brew is top tier. Some people might be surprised to hear me shout this out, but I will always give credit where credit is due. Claymore, when he ran House of Esoterica, next level organization.
Claymore is a psychopath in the best way.
Claymore had spreadsheets on top of spreadsheets. He ran some really complex divisions and kept everything running smoothly. So I cannot say anything bad about Claymore's GMing whatsoever, even if I wanted to, because it was immaculate.
Oh yeah, I'm working with him in the webbies right now, and we have him in the group chat. He will routinely come in, and if we have like a slight issue, he'll pop that code and he'll get it fixed. He's constant.
He's really good at what he does. He's very meticulous, very organized, and has this intuitive sense of like how to make things work the way they need to.
Hashtag free Claymore.
You are welcome to that opinion. I have my own opinions about that, which have nothing to do with this episode.
Broken Teeth Radio is not responsible for any opinions formed by its guests or listeners.
The Extreme Enigma's opinions belong to them and themselves alone.
The Extreme Enigma is kind of a minge. Thank you for listening. I've got some more legitimate beef. This stuff you might actually agree with me on when it comes to GM things.
All right.
I have the name in my head. I don't know if I want to say. I might just because I'm a little stinker. We're gonna see as I go
I
on
mean, it's
about
your show.
this.
You can say whatever you want.
I was gonna say something stupid like Bush did 9/11, but that's just a dumb meme at this point.
Okay, Kanye.
Yeah, exactly. So I've GM'd for quite a few companies. I've done a lot of work. I've done a lot of things. Even before my 2022 return, I dabbled a little bit here and there. I have had multiple situations where somebody brings me in as a GM. They're like, "Hey, here's a show or here's an event or something. Go nuts!" And I'm like, "Sick, thanks. I'll be sure to hit you up if I have any questions." But then I go do my show and I realize my room's the only one that's lit up in the arena. I'm the only person putting the work in. There's nobody else. It's all quiet. The owner has left the building and I've been left to kind of wrangle in the whole roster myself. To put it into perspective, I like to think myself very capable. But a random GM running the show while the company owner is just out for some reason, and it's not like they're out for God forbid a blackout or anything. No, it's beyond that. They pop in other places. They pop in a personal message role, but they aren't putting in the company owner work. What the hell is up with that?
I wish I had better information for you. I wish I could tell you why people do these silly things. Sheer cussedness is usually my thought. I remember once when I was very new in the business, I was in a company and I had a match for the same belt 27 nights in a row.
Sweet fuck.
But I did because I didn't realize what a lottery title was. No one had ever told me. And so I would win the belt, and then I'd defend it a few times, often against the same person, and then I'd finally lose it, and I'd be like, "Oh, thank God, I'm done with that." And then 47 minutes later, I'm in the match for this title again. I'm like, "Why is this happening?"
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out that the show owner had just like fucked off and left the lottery active.
Yep, that's a funny enough something that happened with the company that I'm currently being vague about. It was either the lottery title or my own show. That's the only thing that was happening. Who needs to do work? Who needs to step into an office when you can just type some code on a computer and tell the bots, "Hey, see that person? See that belt? I want you to hit shuffle on that thing 50 times a day. Got me? Got me." It's just there's people who will sit there and be like, "I want to rebuild this company. I want to rebuild things from scratch because this used to be a real man's man place." William Regal reference there for the Yucks. And then they don't put in the effort. They expect others to do that effort for them just because they extended a hand in some respect.
Like, I will say, I think it's incumbent on company owners to get a good GM team. If you want to run a successful company that's got more than like 10 people in it, you need GMs you can count on. But I don't feel like it's appropriate for the owner to then sit back and say, "Well, I've hired people to do that, so I don't need to do anything."
Mm-hmm.
So like as an example of a couple of owners who I feel like have a really good balance of a good GM team and do a lot of work themselves, one would be you. I've been very impressed with ILW since I've been part of it.
I have a GM team? Who the fuck? Where are they on my walls?
Do you not have a team?
It's all me. You? I do everything. The daily tourneys, the events.
Wow. Then you have a great team inside your head.
It's the voices, thanks.
I was certain you had people helping you with that.
I had Dez, bless his heart, do a couple Monday Nitro shows, but then he just kind of, and I'm not bitter about it because I realized he was just kind of about GMing in general. He just stopped at one point, but it's been being me solid.
Well, I have a gap in my schedule now.
I do happen to have a Monday show. I think we have some business to discuss later on.
I will talk to you about that after the show. So someone I do know who has a GM team, because I was recently honored to be asked to be part of that. Lord Amadeus in RAWF.
God bless Lord Amadeus.
So first of all, he does so much work that people don't even realize. He and Unstoppabot do so much behind the scenes stuff that does not, it doesn't need to be seen because it's all behind the scenes, so people don't need to realize that it's happening. But I feel like people don't appreciate just how much work does go into making it run smoothly. And then the GM team does a fantastic job. And I feel like LA does a really good job delegating to them, but also being there to support them and making sure that they have what they need. So, he makes graphics. He makes sure that the match card is set up correctly. He checks in with them to see where they are and what they need from him.
Shout out to the weekly GM reports on After Hours.
Yeah, the GM reports, those would not happen if LA didn't have the show going and, keep in constant contact with the GMs. I can't say enough good things about Unstoppabot. A lot of people don't know just how much Unstoppabot does behind the scenes. We literally would not have an RAWF if it weren't for Unstoppabot. So shout out to Unstoppabot, the greatest robot in all of wrestling. I don't know, what else do you think makes a good or bad GM? Or good and bad bad company owner?
I feel like to be a good GM, more so GM because shows and such, is following up on what happens in your shows. I have seen a lot of times both either myself making the effort or somebody else making the effort. They'll call someone out or they'll follow up on a match result and say they beat somebody who's a champion in a one-off match. You're like, hey, big guy with the gold, I just beat you. And I'm not saying they immediately deserve a title shot, but nothing is done to further that if they're both talking back and forth. Like, say the champ responds after that and says, okay, I see you, but you gotta work your way up. And nothing is done about that. Or, God forbid, if the champion is saying, you know what, yeah, I'll take you on. Again, I'm not saying next week give the guy a title shot, but not acknowledging the story is being organically formed, whether title or otherwise, can make for a bad GM there.
Definitely, if you want people to talk, you need to reward them for talking.
Bingo.
If they feel like they're just shouting into the void, they're not going to keep it up.
Exactly. I GM a few shows where talking is a focal point of the process of the show. And being a bad GM, it takes honestly a lot of work to be bad. You have to actively not Jesus. You have to actively not give a shit to be a bad GM. There's the examples that you've given, the brief examples I've given. How about the people who say it's a weekly show and have the ability to do that with Show Weekly, but they just fucking don't? There's no follow-up. There's no, oh shit, I forgot. There's no, hey, sorry, X thing happened. It's branded as weekly. They act like it's weekly, but it happens once a month. Be self-aware. Adjust.
If something comes up, I've had times where, for one reason or another, I wasn't able to get the show. But, I acknowledge it when I get the next show up. I'm like, hey, sorry about that. Such and so happened. Or, I'll send out a message, sorry this was late. You can have a life outside the game.
Oh, yeah.
And just, be respectful of other people's time and effort, as well as asking them to be respectful of yours.
Bingo, yeah, but if you just leave people out in the dark, what are you doing?
One thing that I feel like is frustrating, as a GM, is if people get hired and put on your show and no one bothers to tell you.
Yes.
And then they're like, why haven't you been booking so and so? I didn't even know they worked here, much less that they were supposed to be on my show.
Mm-hmm. It is very difficult to run branded shows with individual rosters or specific roster implications when you don't know what the fuck is going on with the roster.
Yeah, you're just sitting something or the inverse of that. Someone quits the show and you don't know it, and then you go to book them and you're like, oh, they don't work here anymore. Well, there goes my whole plan.
Right? I've had that happen several times where it has been my show's equivalent of a world title, and this could be on the owner or the person, but just in a general thing here, they're gone and I have to scramble to fix it. I feel like for company owners to really stand out too, and not so much be good, because you could be a good company owner without this, but to stand out as a company owner, you gotta be doing something unique. I'm not saying you need to be like Lord Amadeus and doing 50 different divisions and events with special things at every pay-per-view, but make an effort to make some effort to make your company not just be generic company C, Extreme Edition.
Yeah. Make people, make it, some people just want a show where they can just go in and click through their matches and not have to think about it. And that's totally valid. If that's what you want to do with the game, and that's what gets you entertainment out of it, and that's what you enjoy, by all means.
Hell yeah.
What I don't understand is people who want to join big storytelling companies and then never talk.
Mm-hmm.
And then have the audacity to be like, well, why don't I get title matches? Why am I not in the rankings? It's like, because you don't fucking talk, my guy.
Yeah.
Like, at least once every 6 months, LA has to have a segment where he addresses this and is like, well, if you look at the company concept, you will see that a large part of the rankings points comes from talking in matches, from posting your wins, from making scenes,
God,
from
especially making the
interacting.
scenes. Well, maybe not especially, but making scenes is a big thing.
You know, you can do, just because I know RAWF really well, because it's been my home company since very early in my career. You can make up to 2 scenes a month for points. You can talk in a match. You can get more points for talking in a match than you get for winning or losing the match. So you could lose a match and still get points for it. You know, post your wins. And then, you know, some divisions specifically want trash talk, like White Lightning.
White Lightning.
I know you're feeling a certain kind of way about White Lightning. um, but and part of it is figuring out what each GM wants. Some GMs want you to promo in a certain way. As an example, Lord Amadeus scores trash talk in promos differently than Unstoppabot scores trash talk in tags. So it's about learning your audience, figuring out what is most useful, what is most helpful, what benefits you the most as a player, and adapting. And if what you're doing doesn't work, and you keep doing that thing, you can't complain, because you knew what you were doing doesn't work.
And also, for the love of God, know how to trash talk. Don't just be like, hey, you stinky.
Yeah, like you can trash talk without ever saying anything rude or hateful or mean or whatever to your opponent.
For a lot of
And
people,
especially
trash
like if you're
talk is
supposed
just
to be a
speaking.
face,
Yeah.
like why are you talking shit if you're supposed to be a face and you're facing another face?
There's so many ways to trash talk as a face that isn't just like, for no reason, hey, fuck you. Like, you can literally just have a little moment where you throw up your arms like, hey, you're on the ground. Or you can even, you can talk up your opponent, and some GMs will see that as quote-unquote trash talk, because you're talking.
Yeah. I feel like Paragon of Greatness is a really good example of being able to talk up your opponent while still furthering the story and establishing your own character. Paragon's really good at that. I think more people could learn from the way he does that. Um, I actually met my brother from another mother, Liam O'Shaughnessy, by being put in a tag team with him. The person who was GMing the division was like, "Hey, I got this Irish dude who needs a tag partner. Do you want to team with him?" And I was like, "I guess."
Hey, that's kind of racist, but I like tag team gold.
And then so we got to know each other, and turns out he's the Port County Calamity, and I'm the Irish Firestorm. So we liked that synergy. And then he came up with a tag team name, Ireland Rises Again, the IRA.
I technically retired him.
Did you? Did you really?
Very technically, because I beat him for his title on 5-star, and then he was literally gone this same week.
Yeah, he's busy being important in real life.
I don't know what that's like.
I don't either, but I'm very pleased for him. He's a very good friend out of character as well as in character. And he is doing really impressive stuff, and I'm very proud of him.
And that is a very lovely thing to say, if you want that included in the podcast, to close out this episode.
Yeah, I'm totally fine with that. Keep being kept in.
Minty fresh. Remember, guys, whether we're angry, upset, having a bad time, having a good time, it's wrestling. We beat each other up for a paycheck. Get in the ring and settle it there, unless it gets a little more spicy and you gotta go on a podcast. I have been the Extreme Enigma. This has been Maeve, and I will see you soon for probably nothing important next time. Fuck. Adios.